Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. This is the December 25th, a Christmas Day edition. So it's a little going to be extra special because what I'm going to do is something that nearly impossible. I'm going to pack more history into 20 minutes than you will hear probably in the next 6 months. Okay, so we're going to jump in here and do this thing. So I'm going to give people just a little a chance to join in. I'm going to give you 1 minute because we got a lot that we're kind of covering today. Christmas Day is a special day, so we have a lot of things. So if you haven't subscribed, by all means do that, and you will enjoy all of this information that we're just laying out here to start every day. All right. Okay. So we're going to jump right in here. Okay. You ready? Here we go. This is the December 22nd, 2025 edition. So let's jump back to December 25th, 1899. The Washington, Pennsylvania football team, the Fighting 10th, composed of members of the 10th Regiment that fought in Manila, Philippines, and on other battlefields, were scheduled to meet the Avery College 11 at Pittsburgh's Recreation Park, and that's in Allegheny. So the game was eventually called off because of cold weather. Can you imagine that? And it was never rescheduled. But the Fighting 10th was very famous. And there's two guys that I want to especially mention, and that's Robert Judy Gans, who played for the Fighting 10th, and he was quite the baseball player slash football player. Robert Judy Gans played for Chicago American Giants, played for a lot of good teams. So actually, he was a pallbearer at Frank Leland's funeral. And Frank Leland was the famous owner of the Chicago Leland Giants. Also, we want to mention another guy. His name was Charles West. And Charles became, he's from Washington, Pennsylvania, and he became the first African American to play in the Rose Bowl. That was in 1922. So if you want to look that up, check it out. And he also played baseball with the Washington Potomacs in 1923. So you have football, and then you got two great guys who go on to do magical things in baseball and football as well. So, all right. So let's go to the next one. December 20th, December 25th, 1904, Charles Dixon, I like that name, Dixon, affectionately known as Boots, the mascot of the Paducah local African American team, died after he was accidentally shot with a .38 revolver at the home of his mother, Frankie Dixon. He was shot by a guy by the name of James Grogan. Okay, and Dixon had been the mascot of the Paducah team, and he died at the tender age of 6 years old. And one newspaper described the young boy as exceedingly bright and intelligent. That doesn't surprise me. I've seen a lot of young African American ball players, people around baseball who were exceptionally bright. All right. And that was one thing that history wasn't always kind to African Americans when it came to that, talking about how smart and intelligent we were. So I always like to read things like that in newspapers. All right, let's keep it going. December 25th, 1911. We're dancing right through here. The battery of Will Thiemann, a pitcher, and Leroy Calhoun, a catcher, for the Fresno Wolves, defeated the Hanford Sluggers with the battery of Eugene Roberts and pitcher Mac Molden by a 15-12 score to win the colored baseball championship of the San Joaquin Valley in California baseball action. And in its negative promotion of the game, the local article in the Fresno Herald advised that management of the team had made special requests that razors and such trinkets be checked at by fans because they did not want any violence, and violence was feared because of the extreme rivalry between these two teams. And that was just the negative way that many of these daily newspapers always want to portray the African American fans, as they were going to be bringing razors and guns and things like that. And there was no real history to that was any different than anything that happened in white baseball as well. So just want to let you know that. Okay, we're rolling along. Give you some information. You can look all these things up. Don't ever take my word for anything. I want you to look these things up. One of the things that I specialized in is when I read something, I didn't just read it. I continued to dig and on the players, on the events, and that has been my whole mode of operation since I've been doing this history. So I'm a ferocious researcher when it comes to digging, and looking for that alternative story that helps to tell the story that they're telling. All right. So December 25th, 1912, I interviewed this guy doing very well. Quincy Trouppe is born in Dublin, Georgia. Population of 5,795 in Lawrence County. And interesting thing, the Great Migration was caused by a lot of violence that happened in the South. And Quincy went on to tell me a story, and I was able to research it. Once again, we research these things. And there was a guy named Theo Booth, an African American. He was lynched in nearby Allentown, Georgia, roughly 20 miles from Dublin, for attempted assault on a lady known only as Miss Daggerty, wife of Representative Daggerty. And that happened in November 1st, 1901. And the mob included white citizens from Dublin. Now, remember, Quincy is born in 1912. So when you would see these things happen, sometimes you didn't have the money to leave there. You had to get your finances together. But then back in the back of your mind, you said, we're getting out of here first chance we get. And that's what happened to Quincy Trouppe's family. They ended up moving and relocating to St. Louis, Missouri. And of course, he ended up at Vashon High School and ended up with the St. Louis Stars, and the rest is history. He's actually written a good book that chronicles his life. But all of these lynchings, they indirectly affect baseball because of the Great Migration. A lot of people think it's just because of jobs. No, it was also because of lawlessness in these communities. So many African Americans had to leave those areas and find refuge in the North. And they brought their tradition of playing baseball along with them. So that's why you see so many of the great baseball players who come from the South, especially Texas. Texas has a lot of outstanding black baseball players through the ages. And it's because of racism and violence toward African Americans. Okay, so let's keep it going. Let's jump up to December 25th, 1915. John Henry Lloyd's two-run homer gave the Chicago American Giants a 4-2 win over the San Diego Patriots team in California Winter League action. Now, John Henry Lloyd, man, he hit home runs and boom, went straight to the, are happy to always recognize John Henry Lloyd, one of the greatest shortstops of all time. A lot of people don't know this, but you can't tell it from the pictures. But John Lloyd was actually knock-kneed. And you tell me about different things related to ball players, little things, tidbits that you wouldn't actually think about very often. And one of the things was they would tell me about who was knock-kneed. And I know at least two players that were knock-kneed that were really good players. And one of them is John Henry Lloyd. And of course, the other one was Larry Brown. Yeah, Larry Brown, the great catcher from the Memphis Red Sox. All right. So let's keep it going here. So now we're up to December 25th, 1917, in a big Christmas Day baseball game at Pasadena's Carmelita Park. The Pasadena Merchants defeated the Los Angeles White Sox by a 6-2 score. And so that's a white team playing a black team. Of course, John Donaldson, you probably heard of John Donaldson from Glasgow, Missouri, one of my favorites, all-time favorites, John Donaldson. He started the game for the White Sox, but was bumped hard. So he didn't complete the game, but he retired from the game, and then Jose Mendez came in to finish the game. So I want you to think about this, 1917. You could have seen John Donaldson and Jose Mendez on the same day. I don't think that people really had an appreciation for what they were seeing. And part of this appreciation came from the lack of publicity. Just imagine if you had a player like Babe Ruth and no one knew his history till he got there. And so they're watching him play and say, oh, he's a great player, but they don't know much more about him. And that was the circumstance with many of these African American players. So you're looking at Jose Mendez and John Donaldson in the same game. Now, what they did know was the pitcher, his game named the William Piercy of the New York Yankees. He tossed a four-hitter before giving way to another pitcher, and they knew about those guys because they're reading about them all the time. Many of these guys had played in the Pacific Coast League and had received a lot of press, so they knew about those. And then, of course, Bob Musial featured with the home run and a triple. And of course, he was also of the American League. I'm trying to think. I know Bob and his brother Irish. I think they called him Irish Musial. Both the brothers played in either the American or National League. So anyway, they knew about those guys. But when it came to John Donaldson, Jose Mendez, and how about this? Do you think that they ever were witnessing someone who would end up in Cooperstown? And even as late as 1938, when Cooperstown is already in existence, and people would think back, I don't think they ever thought that people like Jose Mendez would end up in Cooperstown. And how about this? We're still waiting for John Donaldson to be enshrined there, and that should come hopefully the next time around, okay? All right, so how about this? We're going to keep it rolling. December 25th, 1922, Cumberland Posey dropped in 4 baskets for 8 points in the Pittsburgh Leondes 43-19 win over the Chicago Defenders in African-American professional baseball action in a game played at Pittsburgh's Labor Temple. Posey is enshrined, how about this one, in Cooperstown, and he was enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown in 2006, and he was also enshrined in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Illinois in 2016. And as far as I know, he's the only person to hold that distinction of being in both of those Hall of Fames. All right, if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe, guys. We're keeping it rolling. It's the Christmas Day edition. And a lot of you guys are going to pick this up later. So just know this edition is packed with information, as much as I can get in 20 minutes. And we've got a bases loaded edition. All right, so let's go to December 25th, 1926. The Philadelphia Royal Giants and Major League All-Stars battled to a 6-6 12-inning tie in Los Angeles, California in Winter League action. Hall of Famer Andy Cooper, you probably heard of Andy Cooper, out of Waco, Texas. He pitched 11 innings. And how about this one? Since we were talking about Hall of Famers, in 2006, Cooper was enshrined in Cooperstown's Baseball Hall of Fame. He was a former Detroit Stars pitcher, pitched for the Kansas City Monarchs, and occasionally he wrote columns for the Wichita Star newspaper. And I remember years ago, I went down to Wichita to speak, and some of his relatives came to hear me speak. And so he still has a component of relatives that remain in Wichita, even though he was born in Waco and they migrated, some of the family, once again, leaving the South, coming to in this case, coming to Kansas, and they were settled in Wichita. And Cooper ended up joining the Detroit Stars from Wichita, Kansas. All right. Okay, we're going to keep it going now. How about this one? December 25th, 1934, pitcher Charles Alonzo Beeman, a graduate of McCombs High School, was born on this date in Oakland, California. McCombs, a great high school, produced Vada Pinson and Frank Robinson. I think Kirk Flood also went there. Great high schools. But how about this one? They don't talk about Beeman as often. It's coming from McClymonds, and that's McClymonds, McClymonds High School. And he posted a 16-0, so he won 16 games and lost none record for Stockton in the California League in 1955, and went on to pitch for the Baltimore Orioles. Look him up. I think he's on a baseball card. All right, so check that out. All right, so we got just a couple of more, and man, I'm going to finish in here in 20 minutes. I told you I'm just dancing through. Hopefully this information is a lot for you. But anyway, here we go. December 25th, 1937. Basketball star Clarence Fetch Jenkins, been talking about him a lot. Veteran New York Renaissance guard and Negro League baseball star for the New York Black Yankees and a few other teams. Scored 10 points in a 46-36 win over the, it was some kind of Heurich, Heurich, Heurich. I'm not sure how they pronounce that. Brewers team, and at Washington, D.C.'s stadium there, at the gym there on 26th and D Street, Northwest, in front of a Christmas Day crowd of 750. So there is professional African American baseball. And like Cumberland Posey, also Jenkins is enshrined in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. So anyway, guys, this is history. I'm not making this stuff up. I say to you, go check it out. All right. Okay, so we have one more thing, and we're at 15 minutes. We're just going through. Guys, if you're picking this broadcast up later, please subscribe. Let's keep this community growing and keep this knowledge coming, because I tell you what, there are a lot of people out there who are reading my books, and they are posting things related to the Negro Leagues. But right here, you guys, you're getting the authentic guy who lived this history and can still tell this history about all the people that I've met through the years. All right, here's another guy I met, and he's going to be my closing one for today. And it is a guy who was born on December 25th, 1958. Now, Rickey Henderson is the person I'm going to talk about, and he's the all-time leader in Major League stolen bases. And this number I just happen to know, 1,406. That's certain numbers just stick in your head, and that is one. I tell you another number that sticks in my head. Rickey Henderson hit 81 home runs to start the baseball game. So that's 81 games that he probably put the other team behind 1-0 just by coming to the plate. And of course, that is a record as well. And unfortunately, they didn't keep good records back in '79 as to like if it was the first pitch or whatever. But we do know that at least 4 of his home runs, those 80-run home runs, came on the first pitch. Now, what's interesting about that, I coached baseball for a number of years, and when I would interview Negro League players, they would give me little tips and things like that. And I remember, I think I talked to Chet Brewer. It could have been someone else, but it was someone who played with a great leadoff hitter by the name of Wade Johnston. And I never forgot this, and I taught it to my players. And Wade said that when he came to bat, the first guy, he said that the pitcher always wanted to start the game off with a strike. So the pitcher's he's fresh, he's gonna throw his best pitch to start the game off. And if you hit his best pitch that he was using to start the game, you had a psychological advantage for the rest of the game. And so I coached for over 35 years, and that is one of the things that I always taught my batters, especially my leadoff batter, is that philosophy of looking for his first pitch that he's going to try to get over for a strike to start the game. And you are going to be the dominant factor because you're going to get inside his head because you're going to hit his best pitch. And then from there, we will continue to work on him as a unit. So anyway, yeah, that's a philosophy. And I got that philosophy from someone telling me about Wade Johnston, who played for Baltimore, he played for Detroit, he played for the Kansas City Monarchs, who had that philosophy. So some of these things were handed down. And once again, guys, when I say this, I want you to take this seriously. There are people who are giving you information on the Negro Leagues who never tested any of this information, and they're giving you information because, hey, some of them read my book. And they read other people's books, such as John Hallway, who interviewed a number of original people, and Jim Riley as well. And we interviewed people that were actually authentic Negro League players who never had a chance to move anywhere else but the Negro Leagues. And then when the opportunity came in the 1940s, they're too old. But they gave us information and provided data that you could talk about. And so I've been talking about it, and I continue to do that. So let's see. Okay. So that kind of does it for me, guys. It's at 19 minutes and 40 something seconds. I did it. I made it today in this special Christmas Day edition. So if you're picking this broadcast up, go back and look at all the posts I've made. I've got about 250 posts that I've made since we started about 6 months ago. Some of the most authentic information you'll ever hear about the Negro Leagues, guys. And so I'm still trying to build this network of people who love baseball and people who love baseball Americana. So just keep in mind, this is Phil Dixon with another day, another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. And this is the December 25, 2025 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. So have a wonderful holiday, and I will be back tomorrow with something unique as always. So stay tuned, and guys, keep those subscriptions coming and keep subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, but believe me, it's worth the price of admission. Thank you. You have a nice day. Bye.